What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Golf Unity. It is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, and you are locked in for your weekly dose of golf chaos.
It's great to be here. Chaos is definitely the right word.
It is. If you're listening to this, you're not the type to just, check the leaderboard on Sunday afternoon. No.
Not at all.
You are here because you are fully invested, maybe even obsessed with the drama, the dirt, the absolute insanity that professional golf has become.
Right. It's a boardroom drama and a sporting event all rolled into one.
Exactly. We are here for the young, the cool, the frankly very confused golf fans who are trying to figure out what on earth is happening to the sport we love.
And confused is probably the most accurate descriptor for a golf fan in 2026.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire landscape isn't just shifting anymore. It feels like it's liquefying under our feet.
Totally. It's like quicksand.
I've been tracking the data, the quotes, the backroom deals all week, and the sheer volume of stuff we have to unpack today is,
well,
it's staggering.
It's a complete circus. We've got a civil war that won't end. We have CEOs resigning. We have entire leagues rebranding on the fly. But before we get into all that, the heavy stuff.
The billions of dollars.
The billions, yes. Before all that, I have to share a little story for my own. Let's call it a golf journey this weekend. Because here at Golf Unity, we keep it real.
Uh-oh. I knew this was coming.
We talk about the pros, but we live the pain of the amateur grind.
You walked in here today with a slight limp and a look of, I don't know, existential dread.
Yeah.
What happened? Don't tell me you tried to drive a par 4 again.
I wish my story was that heroic. No, this is much dumber. So I'm out playing on Saturday. Perfect day. I'm feeling it. I hit a decent drive, but it just trickles into this fairway bunker on the 7th hole.
Okay.
Now, this bunker has a lip on it. I mean, a proper wall of sod staring you in the face. But the lie itself, the lie was pristine. It was sitting up on the sand like it was on a tee.
Ah, the siren song of the perfect bunker lie. I know this movie. You didn't take your medicine, did you? You didn't just grab the wedge and splash it out sideways.
Of course I didn't. What am I, a sensible golfer? No.
Yeah.
I grabbed the 4-iron.
The 4-iron? Oh, you absolute maniac.
I'm channeling my inner hero. In my head, I'm about to hit this towering high-fade laser beam that lands softly by the pin. So I get in there, I dig my feet in, I'm doing the whole pre-shot routine, and for just one split second, a microsecond, really, I let the club head just rest on the sand behind the ball. Just a little touch. It wasn't a press, it was just like a heavy sigh from my wrists.
Oh, you grounded the club. That is the one thing you cannot do. The cardinal sin and a hazard.
It was barely a whisper to touch.
Yeah.
But my playing partner, let's call him rules official Randy, he's clearly been watching too much international coverage lately.
Yeah.
He points at me, mid-waggle, and he yells, Schläge aufsetzen.
He yelled what?
Schläge aufsetzen.
That's the German term for grounding the club. Why on earth would he yell that at you?
Because we had all been watching the highlights from the tournament in Dubai with David Puig, which we will get to later. And the German commentary on that clip had gone viral in our group chat. It was a meme for us.
So he memed you into a penalty.
He absolutely did. He hits me with the Schläge aufsetzen and immediately declares a 2-stroke penalty right there in the sand.
That is ruthless. I mean, he's not wrong, but that is a savage move from a friend.
It completely tilted me off the planet. I'm trying to argue it was a practice motion. It was gravity. But deep down, I knew he was right. I was so rattled that I stood over the actual shot, completely lost my focus, and just bladed it.
Oh, no.
Bladed directly into the side wall. The ball ricocheted back at about Mach 2 and hit me square in the shin.
So you took a 2-stroke penalty and a physical injury on the same shot.
Penalty, bruise, and a triple bogey. My Euro shot turned into a complete catastrophe.
And that right there is the beauty and the horror of this game. It doesn't matter if you're playing for $5 with your friends or for a $20 million person major. One tiny mental slip, one little rule violation, and the whole thing can spiral out of control.
It was a disaster. But you know what? It actually sets the stage perfectly for what we're talking about today. Because this entire show is about players making massive gambles, taking huge penalties, and trying to recover from their own disasters.
It's a perfect parallel.
We have an absolutely monster lineup for you today.
We really do. We're going to break down the return of the king. Brooks Koepka is officially back on the PGA Tour, but it cost him an absolute fortune.
A fortune. Then we're going to look at LIV Golf's, let's call it a desperate pivot to a 72-hole format.
We have the end of an era with Jay Monahan finally stepping down. And of course, we're going to introduce you to the new class of young guns who are making the established veterans look like dinosaurs.
Plus, Scotty Scheffler is inevitable, and Patrick Reed finds a very, very ironic redemption.
Let's stop wasting time on the tee box. Let's get this thing in the fairway. Segment 1, Brooks is back.
It's official. As of January 12, 2026, Brooks Koepka has formally rejoined the PGA Tour. He's in the field this week, right now, at the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. This is the headline that just completely broke golf Twitter. I mean, if you rewind the clock to 2023, maybe even early 2024, the idea of Brooks just walking back onto a PGA Tour driving range, it seemed impossible.
It really did.
The animosity was so high, the bridges weren't just burned, they were like nuked from orbit.
It certainly seemed that way from the outside, but what we're learning is that behind the scenes, the tour's policy board, which importantly now includes Tiger Woods, has been quietly crafting a very specific piece of legislation. It's called the Returning Member Program.
Okay, returning member program.
And I need to be crystal clear on this for everyone listening.
This was
not an open door. This was not a welcome mat. This was a very, very expensive toll booth.
Let's get into the weeds here, because I've seen the headlines about fines and penalties. But I want to understand the actual mechanics of this deal. Brooks didn't just show up and say, my bad, get his tour card back. He had to pay up big time.
That's right. The program itself is incredibly narrow. The criteria is you have to have won a major championship between 2022 and 2025 and have been away from the tour for at least 2 full years.
So that alone filters out almost everybody. It's basically a major winners-only club.
Exactly. It's for the guys who move the needle. But the financial package he had to agree to is, and I don't say this lightly, brutal. First, you've got the simple cash component, a mandatory $5 million donation to a charity that is mutually agreed upon by the tour.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. We all know Brooks got a signing bonus from LIV that was reported to be well over $100 million, so $5 million to a charity. I mean, that feels like a rounding error. It's a tax write-off. Is that really a punishment?
You're absolutely right. In isolation, the $5 million is PR. It's a goodwill fee. It's the cost of doing business to smooth things over. But the real teeth of this deal, the part that actually hurts, is in the equity. As part of the deal, he is subject to a 5-year ban from the new player equity program. That ban runs from this year, 2026, all the way through 2030.
This is the part that I think confuses a lot of people. When they hear player equity program, their eyes just glaze over. Can you break that down? What is he actually losing? Is this real money, or is this just, paper money that might never actually materialize?
Oh, it's very real potential wealth. Think of it this way. When the Strategic Sports Group, that's the Fenway Sports guys, the American consortium invested $1.5 billion into the new PGA Tour enterprises, they basically turned the tour into a company that the players co-own.
Like a tech startup.
Exactly like a tech startup. So top players, the guys who are performing well and are popular, they get equity grants. They get shares in the company that vest over time. As the tour grows its revenue, the value of those shares is supposed to skyrocket.
So by being banned for 5 years, Brooks is missing out on all the initial stock grants and all the performance-based grants during what is supposed to be the prime growth period of this new company.
Precisely. He's on the outside looking in while all the other top players are accumulating ownership. Multiple analysts I've spoken to estimate that for a player of Brooks's caliber, a guy who wins majors, drives TV ratings, moves the needle, that 5-year lockout could conservatively cost him up to $85 million in future equity value.
Wow. Okay, now that is a number. $85 million is not a rounding error. $85 million is buy a new island kind of money.
And that's still not all of it.
There's more.
There's more. He's also completely ineligible for the FedEx Cup bonus pool in 2026. So let's say he goes on an absolute tear this year. He wins 5 times, he gets to Eastlick, he wins the Tour Championship. He does not get the $25 million bonus check or whatever the figure is this year.
So he can play for the tournament purses, but the big season-long jackpot is completely off the table for him.
Correct. The bonus goes to the next guy on the list.
That is a fascinating and very calculated structure. It's incredibly punitive. It basically sends the message, you can come back and play for history and for trophies, but you will not be allowed to profit from the business that you actively tried to destroy.
That's the core of it. It had to be painful enough to satisfy the guys who stayed loyal. Imagine being Rory McIlroy or Jordan Spieth. If Brooks just waltzed back in for free after taking the Saudi money, the locker room would have completely revolted.
You would have had a full-scale mutiny on your hands. So the big question then is, why do it? Why would Brooks Koepka agree to take what is essentially a $90 million hit just to play at Torrey Pines in the Travelers Championship.
Yeah.
He has the money. He has the major trophies.
Legacy. It's the one thing that money can't buy.
Yeah, it's that simple.
I do. I think Brooks looked at the situation and realized that LIV Golf, for all its cash, was a competitive cul-de-sac. He was playing in 54-hole exhibitions against the same 47 guys every week. His world ranking was cratering. He was risking becoming a footnote, a guy who was great for a few years and then disappeared.
Right, he was becoming irrelevant in the bigger historical conversation.
Exactly. Brooks wants his name mentioned in the same breath as Tiger and Jack and Hogan. To do that, you have to compete on the historic courses in the tournaments that matter against the best players in the world week in and week out. He wants to build a PGA Tour resume.
So it's a massive ego play, but I mean that in best possible way. He's betting on himself and his place in history.
It is. But he's making that bet alone, which is another key takeaway here.
Right. This wasn't the start of some mass exodus from LV. The other big names, Bryson, Jon Rahm, Cam Smith, they all stayed put.
They did. Bryson is reportedly locked into a contract through the end of 2026 that has massive exit penalties. Rahm and Cam Smith have been very vocal, saying they believe in the LIV team product. They seem to be doubling down.
So this wasn't the floodgates opening. This was one very specific guy, Brooks Koepka, making a very personal decision that his legacy was worth more than the $85 million in equity he's leaving on the table.
A truly fascinating decision.
Okay, let's talk about the vibe at Torrey Pines this week. Because you can write all the fancy contracts and penalty clauses you want, but at the end of the day, he still has to walk into that locker room. He still has to stand on the range next to the same guys he was part of a lawsuit against.
Oh, it is going to be frosty. There is absolutely no doubt about it. The air is going to be thick with tension.
We've already seen some of the quotes trickle out. Tiger Woods came out and, in his typical statesman role, called it a win for everyone.
Which is Tiger being the ultimate pragmatist.
Totally.
He's not looking at the personal feelings. He's looking at the bottom line. He knows TV ratings have been soft. He knows sponsors are getting a little restless. Having a villain, a major hunter like Brooks Koepka back on the screen every week makes the PGA Tour a much better television show. Tiger doesn't have to like the guy personally, but he knows the business needs him.
Rory was a little more, I'd say, reserved. He basically said that reunification, like a full merger, is solution A. But that's not happening, so having Brooks back is an acceptable plan B. But then you get to a guy like Wyndham Clark.
And Wyndham Clark is the perfect voice for the rank-and-file star. He's not Tiger, he's not Rory, but he's a top 10 player in the world who stayed loyal. He said he's very torn.
I get that.
His quote about Brooks getting to have his cake and eat it too is the one that I think resonates with a lot of players on tour. From their perspective, Brooks left, got a guaranteed $100 million bag, lived the easy life on LIV for a few years, and now he gets to just waltz back and play the premier PGA Tour schedule. It feels unfair.
It's that classic corporate betrayal scenario. It's like the guy at your office who quits to go work for your biggest competitor for double the salary, then 3 years later, the company hires him back as a VP. All the loyal employees who stayed and grinded it out for their 3% annual raises are always going to look at that guy and just think, screw you.
It's the exact same dynamic, though to his credit, Brian Harman was very honest about it. He said his initial reaction was pure anger. But then, when he saw the actual numbers, the $85 million equity loss, he said he calmed down. He realized the tour did manage to extract its pound of flesh.
The financial penalty made it palatable.
Yes, it showed that there was a real consequence.
It's going to be must-watch TV just for the pairings alone. I am praying to the golf gods for a Saturday pairing of Brooks Koepka and Wyndham Clark. That would be absolutely electric.
The tension is good for the product. Golf needs rivalries, it needs friction. It can't just be a bunch of friendly guys in the same brand apparel.
Speaking of friction, the broader civil war, as we've been calling it, is far from over just because Brooks is back. In fact, if you zoom out and look at the macro picture, the PGA Tour and LIV Golf seem to be further apart than they've ever been.
We have been talking about this supposed merger or framework agreement since June 6, 2023. That is almost 3 years of talks. And what do we have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. The deal is dead.
Rory McIlroy was in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, and he sounded completely defeated on the topic. He said he doesn't see a world where it can happen at this point. Adam Scott gave an interview in California and said the two sides are worlds apart. What went so wrong? I thought the PIF, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, wanted a deal.
It all comes down to control. Once the PGA Tour secured that $1.5 billion investment from SSG, the American group, They didn't need the Saudi money to survive anymore.
Right, they had their lifeline.
They still wanted the Saudi money because that's the only way to stop them from poaching more players. But they weren't willing to give up a controlling interest on the board or veto power to get it. And the PIF, for their part, isn't going to just hand over another $1 billion to be a silent minority partner.
And wasn't there that last-ditch effort to get President Trump involved? I remember reading about some big meeting at the Oval Office.
There was a massive summit. You had President Trump, you had Jay Monahan, you had Yasser Al-Rumayyan from the PIF. The hope was that Trump, who owns courses used by both tours and, frames himself as the ultimate deal maker, could somehow force a handshake.
But that's not what happened.
By all accounts, the meeting completely backfired. It actually pushed the sides further apart.
How does a meeting in the Oval Office with the president backfire?
It seems it just crystallized the fundamental incompatibility of their visions. Instead of finding a middle ground, it highlighted their core differences. You have the American-centric, legacy-focused, nonprofit at heart PGA Tour on one side, and on the other, you have this global, disruptive, top-down, for-profit LIV model. They're just oil and water. The meeting apparently ended with both sides walking away and realizing we don't actually want the same things.
Which brings us to the biggest casualty of this entire war. The man who tried to play both sides and, in the end, ended up pleasing absolutely no one. Jay Monahan.
The news finally dropped this week. Jay Monahan will officially be stepping down as the commissioner of the PGA Tour at the end of the 2026 season.
Let's do a real deep dive on his legacy here, because it's not simple.
Yeah.
It's incredibly complicated. You can't just say he was bad or he was good.
No, you absolutely can't. If you look purely at the balance sheet, Jay Monahan is arguably the most successful commissioner in the history of the tour. He took revenues to the stratosphere. He navigated the COVID shutdowns in 2020 better than almost any other major sports league. Remember, golf was the first sport to come back.
And he got that SSG investment done, which valued the tour at over $12 billion. That's a huge number.
Financially, he was a wizard. But when it came to the strategy and, dare I say, the morality of dealing with lobby, it was an unmitigated catastrophe. You have to go back to the 9/11 comments.
I don't think anyone in the golf world will ever forget that interview. Him sitting there with Jim Nantz, invoking the families of 9/11 victims, looking into the camera and asking players, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour? He weaponized the moral high ground to try and keep players from leaving.
He drew a line in the sand, a very, very bright line. And then, less than 2 years later, without telling any of the players, not even Tiger or Rory, he secretly flies to London, plays a round of golf with Yasser Al-Rumayyan, and announces a framework agreement with the very people he had just publicly demonized.
Yeah, it was the moment. That was when he lost the locker room forever.
It broke the trust. You can be a ruthless businessman, that's fine. But you cannot be a hypocrite to your own talent, especially when you demanded loyalty from them based on a moral stance that you then abandoned for money.
There's a quote from a prominent player agent that I think just sums it up perfectly. He described Monahan as a captain for a cruise ship who was suddenly forced to command a battleship in the middle of a war. And he wasn't equipped for it.
That's a brilliant analogy. Monahan was a sponsor guy, a relationship guy. He was great at shaking hands with CEOs in corporate hospitality tents. But LIV was an existential, hostile threat. It was warfare. And Monahan's strategy just wavered constantly. First, he ignored them. Then he fought them with morality. Then he tried to secretly join them. The inconsistency is what ultimately did him in.
So he's on his way out, and in his place, we have the new boss, Brian Rolapp.
And this hire is a massive signal of where the PGA Tour is heading. Rolapp is a former high-ranking executive from the NFL.
The NFL. I mean, in the world of sports business, the NFL is the Death Star. They just crush everything in their path.
Precisely. Rolapp isn't coming in to glad hand sponsors. He's coming in to build a dominant, streamlined media property. He's already laid out his 3 strategic pillars for the tour: competitive parity, simplicity, and scarcity.
Simplicity is the one that has me the most excited. Because right now, trying to explain the PGA Tour schedule to a casual fan with signature events and elevated events and the FedEx Cup Fall Series, it's a complete nightmare. You need a flowchart and a spreadsheet just to know if a tournament actually matters or not.
Rolapp wants to fix that. The NFL model is beautiful in its simplicity. Fewer games, but every single game matters immensely. Tiger Woods has already hinted that by 2027, the PGA Tour schedule could look radically different. We might see fewer total tournaments. But with all the top stars playing in them and a season that actually has a clear beginning, middle, and end that finishes before the NFL season swallows all the oxygen.
That sounds like an absolute dream. But here's the crazy part. While the PGA Tour is over here trying to become more like the NFL, LIV Golf is over there desperately trying to become, well, more like the PGA Tour.
It is the irony of the century, isn't it? Welcome to what we're calling LIV 2.0. For 3 years, their entire marketing pitch was built on being different. Golf, but louder. 54 holes is the future. Don't blink. Well, guess what?
They blinked.
For the 2026 season, they have officially moved all their events to a 72-hole format.
They completely blinked. After all that talk about how 54 holes was a superior product, it's unbelievable.
They finally had to face reality. They had hit a brick wall. The single biggest issue for LIV and its players was the official World Golf Ranking, the OWGR. They weren't getting points. Their stars were sliding down the rankings, losing their exemptions into the major championships.
And the OWGR board kept telling them, we can't rank you accurately because your entire format is statistically incomparable to every other professional tour in the world.
Right. And moving to 72 holes is their Hail Mary pass to try and fix that.
Let's geek out on the math here for just a second. Why does the number of holes, 54 versus 72, matter so much to the ranking algorithm?
It's about variance and sample size, primarily. In a shorter 54-hole sprint, a player who gets on a lucky hot streak has a disproportionate impact on the results. Over a longer 72-hole tournament, the better, more consistent player usually has more time to separate themselves from the pack. But the even bigger issue for the OWGR was the lack of a cut.
Ah, right.
The OWGR system relies heavily on comparing how a player performs against the average score of the entire field. In a no-cut event, the guys at the bottom of the leaderboard, the players who are having a terrible week, are still playing on Sunday. That drags down the field average and skews all the data.
So by moving to 72 holes, and presumably introducing a cut, LIV is basically waving a white flag and saying, fine, we'll play your game, now please give us our points. Do you think it'll work?
Honestly, it might be too little, too late. The OWGR application process can take years. And even with 72 holes, the fundamental closed-shop nature of LIV, where it's the same 48 guys playing every single week regardless of their recent form, is still a major sticking point for the ranking committee. But it's a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding.
They're also rebranding a bunch of the teams, and thank God for that, because some of those team names were just tragic.
They're leaning hard into regional and national identity now to try and actually build a genuine fan base. The Ironheads, which was just a terrible generic name.
Awful.
That team is now officially the Korean Golf Club.
Okay, that makes a ton of business sense. South Korea is a massive, passionate golf market. Ben An is rumored to be the new captain. If they can start selling team merch in Seoul, that's a tangible win for them.
Then you have Stinger GC, the all-South African team. They're rebranding to become the Southern Guards GC with a new rhino logo.
I don't know about that one. I actually kind of liked Singers. It sounded like a cool cocktail.
Yeah.
Southern Guards sounds like a private security firm you'd hire for a gated community.
It is a bit militaristic, I'll give you that. But the rhino logo is smart. It connects to wildlife conservation, which is a big deal in South Africa. And the Majestics are getting a full British-themed overhaul. They are trying to create tribalism. They want you to root for the Korean Golf Club the same way you root for Manchester United.
But here's the fundamental billion-dollar problem with all of this. All the rebranding, all the format changes.
Yeah.
Is anyone actually watching?
The data we have on that is, well, it's catastrophic for them. We finally got the official viewership numbers from their first full season on Fox and FS1 in the States.
Okay, lay it on me. How bad is it really?
For the events that aired on the main Fox broadcast network, they averaged 338,000 viewers.
338,000. I'm pretty sure a late-night rerun of diners, drive-ins, and dives on the Food Network gets more viewers than that.
It gets much, much worse. For the events that were bumped to the secondary channel, FS1, because of scheduling conflicts, the average viewership dropped to just 63,000 people.
63,000. I think there are Twitch streamers playing Minecraft right now who have more people watching them than a professional golf tour with $100 million players.
Right.
That is abysmal.
It's a complete disaster. To put that in context, a standard non-major Sunday final round on the PGA Tour averages 2.66 million viewers. In some cases, that's a 40-to-1 viewership advantage for the PGA Tour.
That's not even a competition. That's a blowout. That's like comparing the Super Bowl to a public access cable TV show.
The analyst Ian Baker-Finch had a great quote about this recently. He said that investors are voting with their remote. You can spend billions of dollars on signing bonuses, you can buy the airtime on a major network, but you cannot force people to care. The fragmentation of the sport has clearly turned a lot of fans off, and when they're forced to choose, they're sticking with the brands and the tournaments they've known their whole lives.
It seems like the whole cool golf experiment isn't really that cool if nobody's there to see it. But you know what is cool? The actual golf being played by the next generation of stars. Because while all the old guys and the executives are setting money on fire in boardrooms, the talent pipeline in this sport is absolutely exploding.
This is the part of the show that always gets me the most excited. The politics are messy and exhausting, but the sheer athleticism coming up through the ranks is just terrifying. We're looking at the class of 2026, and these kids are absolute monsters.
We need to update the GOLFUNITY listeners' watch lists. Everybody knows about Scotty and Rory and Rahm. Who are the guys we need to be buying stock in right now before they blow up?
Okay, let's start with a guy who is already making waves on the other side of the pond. Wenyi Ding.
Wenyi Ding, the phenom from China.
He's only 21 years old. He's been cutting his teeth on the DP World Tour. Physically, he is a prototype for the modern golfer. He's tall, he's got massive leverage in his swing, and it's technically flawless. He nearly won the Australian PGA Championship recently and just had a third-place finish on the Asian Tour.
Is he just a pure bomber, or is there more to his game?
He definitely has power, you have to these days.
Yeah.
But his game is really built on his iron play. He strikes the ball with a purity and a consistency that is just so rare for a 21-year-old. He doesn't have that big amateur miss in his bag. He already looks like a 10-year veteran out there.
Okay, Wenyi Ding, I'm in. Who's next on the list?
Blades Brown.
Blades Brown. Can we just pause for a second and appreciate that name? That is an 80-grade Hall of Fame golf name. It sounds like a character from a movie who hustles you at a pool hall.
And he's only 18 years old.
18. At 18, I was struggling to pass my calculus final. This kid is competing on the professional tours.
He is a true phenomenon. He tied for second place at a Korn Ferry Tour event as an amateur. He's an absolute birdie machine. But we actually saw a really fascinating and important moment of vulnerability with him just this month.
This was the exhaustion story, right?
Yes. He played all 4 rounds of that Korn Ferry event, was in contention until the very end, then immediately flew straight to California to play in the American Express on a sponsor's exemption. All told, he played 8 competitive tournament rounds in about 9 days, not to mention all the travel and practice rounds.
And for an 18-year-old body, even a super fit one, that is a completely different level of physical and mental grind than he's ever experienced.
He just hit a wall. He admitted it afterwards, said he was completely gassed by the weekend. He made the cut, which is incredible in itself, but he faded on Saturday and Sunday. It was just a great reminder that being a professional golfer isn't just about how well you hit the ball. It's about managing travel, sleep, nutrition, and mental endurance. But the raw talent, it's completely off the charts. He has no glaring weakness in his entire bag.
I love that. He's only going to get stronger. He's going to learn how to nap on airplanes. Who else should we be watching?
Jackson Koepka, age 20. He's a star at Auburn University.
War Eagle.
The whispers around this kid are getting dangerously loud. People in the college coaching world are comparing his game and his demeanor to Ludwig Oberg.
Whoa, stop right there. You can't just throw that name around. Oberg is like a golf robot built in a Swedish laboratory to be perfect. You can't compare a college kid to Oberg.
The stats are there to back it up. Koepka is already an elite tour-level putter and is arguably the best wedge player in all of college golf. He had a stretch last year where he had 4 straight top 11 finishes in PGA Tour events while he was still an amateur. That is Tiger-esque consistency. He is ready to win immediately once he turns pro.
And finally, you have to have a bomber on the list. Give me the bomber.
Gordon Sargent, age 22. We've known about him for a couple of years now because his ball speed numbers are insane, like 190 miles per hour plus. But he's actually been in a bit of a slump since turning pro.
Ah, the classic power hitter who loses the map phase of development.
Well, exactly. He missed 6 of his first 11 cuts. His confidence was clearly shaken. He was spraying the ball everywhere. But the word coming out of his camp is that all that firepower is still there, just hiding under the hood. He's been working with a new coach to tighten his dispersion. If he can just figure out where the ball is going, he has the kind of power to completely overpower modern golf courses in a way that only maybe 5 other guys on the planet can.
It's so exciting. The old guard,
Yeah.
the Spieths and the Thomases and those guys, they really need to be watching their backs. These kids are coming, they're hungry, and they could not care less about the politics of the PGA Tour versus the old guy.
They just want to play golf and beat everybody.
Speaking of guys who just want to play and beat everybody,
Ugh.
let's talk about the results from this past week. Because Scottie Scheffler is officially becoming a problem for the rest of the golf world.
A problem is a massive understatement. The German press has started calling his relentless consistency Scheffler Dings, which just means Scheffler things.
Scheffler things. I love it.
He won the American Express this weekend, and get this, that is his 20th career PGA Tour win.
He has joined one of the most exclusive clubs in all of sports. Only 3 players have reached 20 PGA Tour wins before the age of 30. Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and now Scottie Scheffler.
It is truly historic dominance, but the thing that stood out to me most wasn't the win itself, it was how Jason Day described playing with him. Jason Day played great golf this week. He was in the final group, and he said afterwards, "I was stunned by how routine it all looked for him."
That is the scary part. It's almost boring. He doesn't hit these wild, miraculous recovery shots from the trees because he's never in the trees. He just hits fairway, hits green, hits it to 15 feet, makes the putt, and then does it again on the next hole.
He started the final round with a 2-stroke deficit. Most guys in that situation would press, maybe get a little aggressive. Scottie just calmly went out and shot a 66 like he was on a casual Sunday stroll with his friends. He ended up winning by 4 shots. He is a cheat code. He is gaining strokes on the field in every single statistical category. There is no weakness to exploit.
He is simply inevitable. But while Scottie was being a robot in California, we had some absolutely wild, high drama unfolding in the desert. Patrick Reed won the Hero Dubai Desert Classic.
Captain America is back. Or perhaps the villain is back. It really just depends on your point of view.
This was a weird one for me. Seeing Patrick Reed, a living golfer, win on the DP World Tour just feels like a glitch in the Matrix.
It was a huge win for him personally. He said in his press conference that it had been gnawing at him for years that he had never won a standalone DP World Tour event. He's won majors and World Golf Championships, but never a regular European Tour stop. This one meant a lot to him.
But the real story wasn't Reed winning. It was how David Puig lost. And this brings us full circle back to my own personal bunker disaster.
The irony is just palpable. David Puig, the young rising star from Spain, another LIV player, he is chasing Patrick Reed down the stretch. He finds himself in a bunker, and he grounds his club.
Schläger aufsetzen.
He just barely touched the sand with his club during his backswing. A rules official saw it, 2-strike penalty. And in that one instant, the entire tournament was over. Patrick Reed, the man who has been at the center of more rules controversies than perhaps any player in history.
The plugged lie in the palm tree, the sand scraping incident in the Bahamas, the list goes on and on.
Exactly. That man, the man with the darkest reputation when it comes to the rules of golf, ended up benefiting from his opponent's tiny rules violation to win the tournament. You absolutely cannot script that.
The golf gods have a deeply, deeply twisted sense of humor. But this win for Reed in Dubai also just stoked the fires of the ongoing Ryder Cup controversy.
Yes, the pay-to-play beef.
This is getting so spicy. Rory McIlroy is basically in a cold war with Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton over their eligibility for the next Ryder Cup.
So here's the situation for everyone. To be eligible to play on the European Ryder Cup team, you have to be a member in good standing of the DP World Tour. Part of being a member means you have to pay any fines you incur for playing in conflicting events like LIV Golf without getting a release. Rahm and Hatton have a pile of unpaid fines, and they are refusing to pay them. They are appealing them legally.
And Rory, who has basically become the shadow commissioner and captain of Team Europe, he came out swinging this week.
He did not mince his words at all. His quote was, "We said we would pay to play. There's 2 guys that can prove it." He is publicly challenging them. He is essentially saying, if you really care about the Ryder Cup as much as you say you do, then stop messing around with lawyers and write the check.
And what was Tyrrell Hatton's response? Who is, arguably the angriest man in professional golf.
His response was basically, I'm letting the lawyers handle it. I just want to play golf.
So it's a giant game of chicken. If Rahm and Hatton are ruled ineligible, Team Europe probably loses the 2027 Ryder Cup at Adair Manor. Does the DP World Tour blink and waive the fines to get their star players back? Or did the players blink and finally pay up?
Or option C, does Rory just get so fed up that he pays their fines for them just so he can have them on his team?
Knowing Rory's passion for the Ryder Cup, I would not put that past him.
Me neither.
Man, we have covered so much ground today. Brooks is back, but broke. Monahan is out. LIV is desperate. The young kids are coming for the throne. And Scottie Scheffler is an unstoppable machine. It really feels like the entire sport is just holding its breath.
It really does. We are in a massive transitional phase. All the old structures are crumbling. Monahan's leadership, the 54-hole model, and these new uncertain ones are being built in their place, like Rolapp's vision for the tour and this new returning member program.
So here is the final provocative question I want to leave the GolfUnity listeners with today. With the PGA Tour actively trying to change its schedule to be more scarce and valuable like the NFL, and with LIV Golf now trying to play 72 holes to get world ranking points, are we accidentally moving toward a world with two world tours, but without an actual merger? Are we just going to end up with two separate hostile planets that look almost identical but just refuse to ever talk to each other?
That is the great danger, isn't it? Two hostile planets, orbiting the same sun of corporate and sovereign wealth, constantly trying to pull the best players out of each other's gravitational pull. It's not a sustainable model for the sport, but man, it sure is entertaining to watch.
Entertaining is the word. And that is why we are here. That is it for this episode of GolfUnity. We really hope you enjoyed this deep dive into all the madness.
It was a pleasure, as always, to try and make sense of it all.
Make sure you ring that bell on whatever platform you're listening on so you do not miss out on our next episode. And check out our social media channels for all the memes, the highlights, and yes, maybe even the video of my Schliger offsets and penalty if I ever build up the courage to post it.
We have to post the video. The people need to see it. It's for the content.
We'll see. And be sure to tune in for our weekly golf news show to stay ahead of the curve on all of these stories. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hit 'em straight.